I get a few minutes to talk about social media. I'm going to try to convince you that if you're not on this, you don't exist. 100%. If you're and you might be like, well, that's fine. I don't want to exist, right? But you're at a conference about how we take dominion. And Nate Wilson, I think, did one of the most amazing jobs of talking about how we take dominion. So I think these two things complement each other. First of all, I'm Darren Doane. Thank you. I run a creative agency, and what we do is branding. We work with people that run massive businesses to local businesses in my own town. And this is the premise. If you're not on this, you don't exist. So what does that mean in regards to defying tyrants and taking dominion? Well, again, if you don't exist, if you're not living in such a way where you're communicating, again, I think it's going to be really hard to communicate. And this is a little bit more practical, but I don't care if you're looking to get a job, build your business, get into school. If you're not on this device, again, I don't think you exist. And so what does that mean? And so I believe that social media platforms, this device, this is our new resume, okay? This is how we communicate who we are and why people should be interested in us. But if this is the new resume, I just want to give you a little thought experiment here. Imagine you've got a husband who's working on his resume, and he's typing away, and his wife comes up over his shoulder and says, I don't know, honey, this just seems to be a little too much about you. He's like, well, it's my resume. It's kind of about me. I know, but you seem to be kind of making yourself look really important. Well, yeah, it's a resume. It's kind of what you do. I know, but you're really seeming to kind of highlight skills that make you look like you're better than other people. Well, again, that's a resume. And that's kind of what you do. And so the first objection when I tell people that I think you have to be on this device and you have to be communicating every single day is, well, yeah, but isn't that just vanity? Isn't that just a self-centered way to live your life? It's just me, 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 me. But if you've ever had to go get a job, it's about you. And I think this is how we now communicate who we are in regards to people working with us, hiring us. I mean, look, everyone's done it. If you own a business, I mean, I was talking to a fireman, and he was like, yeah, we have a new hire coming. The first thing they did is, he said, they all got around a computer and looked at that guy's Facebook page. So it didn't matter even what the resume was, what the credentials were. They all got together as a firehouse and were like, do we want this guy here? What does he post? What does he say? But I think that gives us Christians an opportunity to realize that this is beachfront property for us to be communicating who we are, what we do it, how we talk, how we communicate, all those things. And so the next thing that usually comes up when I bring up this subject is, well, wait. How am I going to be communicating every single day? Like, what does that look like? And to me, this is where I think the Christian has an advantage. Other people have used this phrase, I'm stealing it, but I'm going to add a little drizzle sauce on it, which is, just think about these platforms, think about this device, this tool, in such a way where you just document, don't create. Document your life, what you're doing, how you do it. Don't think about, I got to be a creator and now I got to become a model. No, document, don't create. Tell stories. Tell your journey. If you're starting up a coffee shop, if you're starting up a new business, people are more interested in your journey in failing the first 3 years and seeing that and getting behind you. I would argue that social media, when done right from a Christian perspective, when we're communicating who we are in a truth, beauty, goodness sort of way, that becomes humbling. I've been putting out hundreds and thousands of images of myself over the last 2 years, like black and white photos with like a quote, like I'm Abraham Lincoln. Who am I to do that? I don't look at that picture of me and go, smoking hot. Look at me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like what's wrong with my mouth? It goes to like one side. Did I have a stroke? I'm like, did I not know? Palsy? I was like, what? All right. Trust me, I'm not more into myself now, 2.5 years into playing this game and communicating, that I think less of myself. Oh well. I would argue communicating daily on this actually will make you more humble. And so document your process, document where you are at, what you are doing, whether it's parenting, building that business, starting an auto mechanic store, you're gonna flip shoes, whatever. Document the journey. And then now you have a place where you can share who you are. That's how we connect with people, on story. Go back and listen to anything by Nate Wilson. Story wins. Maybe it was Lewis, someone like that. Anyways. So a lot of people then will say, and I'll end with this, why would I just document and show all this stuff? Or if I am an artist and I'm not putting out my finished work and I'm just creating, it's just not finished yet and it's not ready, and I'm a perfectionist and I just want to create things for the glory of God and it's just got to be perfect and amazing. I would ask the room this. If you could have Da Vinci's Mona Lisa or his sketchbook, let that sink in. If you could have Da Vinci's Mona Lisa or his sketchbook, who would take the sketchbook? We like to see what people are doing. I would take the sketchbook. We want to see the process. We're designed in such a way. And if you want to defy tyrants, 8 billion people, almost 8 billion people in the world right now. 4 billion people can be reached right here. We're here because of this device and 3 guys getting together, because of technology, because of what God has brought in us. This is amazing. You just start, you make things. In your first episode, it's not good. Or as Nate Wilson would say, it sucks. You're sucking. But you get better, and you grow, and you just get better every single time. This is everything for us in how we communicate. And we as Christians should be the best at communicating. I want to encourage you guys.
You sit in church week after week, embracing the truth of God's Word. You believe the gospel and claim Jesus Christ as your Lord. Yet you continue to struggle with pornography. You feel like a hypocrite, returning to the sin you hate that mocks the God you love. You desperately wonder, is lasting freedom even possible? Yes, you can overcome pornography, but not alone. 2 Timothy 2:22 says, "Now flee from youthful lusts, and pursue righteousness, faith, love, and peace, with those who call on the Lord from a pure heart." Only by repeatedly running from sin to Christ with other believers can you hope to enjoy lasting freedom. You can live with purity and integrity. Take courage, seek accountability, and do whatever is necessary. Get equipped at accountable2you.com.
Hey y'all, welcome to CrossPolitic on the Fight Laugh Feast Network. Pastor Toby couldn't make it, so we found the next best guy to fill in.
Yes.
Darren Doane.
Yes.
Kind of tall, lanky, white guy phylum.
Yeah.
Right? Kind of in, I'm in the Toby. Yeah, I'm in there.
Yeah, you aren't orange or pale
No,
like
it's
him.
true.
He's pretty pasty and pale, yeah. Chocolate Knox and I'm the Water Boy. It's good to be with you guys. The mission of Armory Republic is to honor Christ by equipping free men with tools of liberty necessary to preserve God-given rights. In the Armory Republic, there's no king but Christ. We are free craftsmen. Body armor is a tool of liberty. We create tools of liberty. Free men must remain ever vigilant against tyranny wherever it appears. God has given us the tools of liberty needed to defend the rights he bestowed us. Armory Republic is honored to offer those tools. Visit them at ar500armor.com. AR, 500, 500 armor. armoryrepublic.com. And honestly, if you don't have a vest, you can't even be that good with a gun. You know what I'm saying? You get shot.
You need some right now.
Yeah, you need
I
some.
keep mine in my trunk.
Especially those people in North Carolina and Tennessee.
If I'm American, I kind of just want one.
So I was texting with some friends in Asheville and who we know.
Yeah.
And he sent his wife and kids away, and he's there just like clean up the mess. He said it's bad. Like what's being reported on the news is not even
just the violence and the.
No, it's just the destruction.
Okay, I was like, because we're talking about body armor, and I'm like, whoa, it's getting.
Yeah.
I just want you to know that you read that ad.
And you went right into that.
Yeah, I know, right?
Like there was looting.
I disconnected myself from the ad.
Completely. I just want you to know you really read that ad like you were from Texas. You had a George Bush tools of armor.
Hello, America.
Yeah,
I've been on the job.
So George
24/7.
Bush,
24 days a week.
It's
7 months a year.
impressive to see the angle, like in him doing it, because that's not easy.
No,
and so when
it's
I'm watching
not.
Gabe do it, I'm like, man.
And this is probably one of the best reads you've ever done for ads.
Wow.
So I just want you
I'm
to
a
know.
horrible ad reader. Toby's
Yes,
Toby's
you
just
are.
he's good. He's strong. He
yeah.
goes
Toby's
through
got
it.
that.
Yeah, he's got it.
You know, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna introduce Darren. You probably already know Darren, but Darren is the host of the Doane Cast and other casts.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. A podcast that explores topics relevant to artists and content creators. In recent years, Doane has focused on both commercial projects and independent films. He funded. This is probably your latest bio. It's probably
this is really nice. I don't think I have this.
He founded the Doane Creative Agency, which specializes in brand building and content production for major companies like Nike, Toyota, Yamaha. Doane's filmography.
Yeah, that's fancy filmography. I don't think I wrote that.
Who came up with that word?
It's when you're a filmmaker, it's
that
your
your daughter?
body of work. No. She would take an amazing photo. I don't think she would write that. But no, it's all your films.
Okay,
it's all your
Doane's
films.
filmography includes notable documentaries such as Kirk Cameron's Unstoppable and Collision with Pastor Wilson and Christopher Hitchens, which features debates, I'm just already reading in that. As he navigates the evolving landscape of film and media, Darren Doane remains a prominent figure committing to pushing the boundaries of storytelling while inspiring the next generation of creators. And the reason why we have Darren on today and in the studio is because you got a new book out.
Yeah.
Don't Be Precious.
Yeah.
I love
A theology of work, by the way.
I love because you just want to hold that thing
I know,
so preciously.
it's like all of our ideas.
Yeah.
Right? All of our ideas are that cute.
Yeah.
And then they end up hurting us.
And so, yeah, exactly. So you started talking about "Don't Be Precious" for. I remember that language coming out of you.
Yeah.
What, 3, 4, 5 years ago? Was it even longer than that?
It just when I started my podcast, as you guys know, you just start talking, and things just come out. And next thing you know, you're like, well, I guess that's my tagline, or that's my. And somewhere in my very first episode, I think I said, just don't be precious. And I hadn't thought much about it. If I had, I probably would have thought way too much Lord of the Rings and my precious, and it would have seemed like, but it just, at some point that kind of authentically came out like, I think people are too precious, meaning myself included. So I take shots at artists because I am an artist. I know exactly how precious we are and how we think we're perfectionists and all those things. And so this was sort of a way to kind of beat myself up along with what I thought was a culture of artists that most likely probably weren't going to have a future, just with the way the world was going. If they were precious, they were probably going to be sort of left without a job or a vocation. So that kind of just became my like, hey, let's talk about just getting things done.
Why would you be left without a job or vocation of being precious? Because it seems like you're doing the work. And so if you're trying to do the work and you're trying to do an excellent job at doing the work, being precious would be a value, it would seem.
Yeah. And so what was happening was I was just watching the speed at which things needed to get done. And that's something I actually kind of finally circled back on when I wrote the book, which was the arts somehow became just this luxury, right? Painting or filming or photography, they all kind of became this thing. You know, when people joke about they're sort of writing the great novel, right? The great American novel takes as many years as you want, right? To sort of get it right. And then we get to this moment in time and you guys all of a sudden have to, I remember at some point you went to daily. And it was like, well, guess what? We need people who can film this, edit this, put it together, put promo clips together. And we don't have time to sit around and say, let's do post-show notes and then we'll talk to Gabe and we'll kind of work him through some areas we think he could be. You're like, I'll just get better on the next one.
That's so
and
real.
then the next
that's
one.
so real.
And then the next one.
We deleted our first 5 podcasts that we did together. So we just because we're learning.
Yes.
And there was a luxury. This was 7 years ago.
Yeah.
Right? Like there wasn't a whole lot of podcasts out that were like ours.
Right.
And so we could actually kind of nurture this thing and try and get better without anybody hearing. But
And you guys were doing an actual show where, like, for me, I had to just sit and talk.
Yeah.
Right. So the bar was pretty low.
it must have been nice. I'm sorry.
Well, I know.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Gabe.
Not having to plan things out.
Well, but the insecurity too, like there's no one to bounce anything off of. It's just
Right.
my voice. I'm just sitting there. It's just going to be
So
me.
like the first 10 episodes were like therapy to you, really. So if, started off therapy and then kind of grew into.
Well, yeah, and it's funny because it's funny, we don't even have notes on this, but that really is what this book is. I realized that my first 10 episodes were pretty much like the first 10 chapters of the Bible. The first, like it was it just repeats.
Yeah.
So I was kind of like, well, what if I could condense the first 10 episodes of my podcast, create, kind of turn that into a book, take sort of all these other writings and essays I'd kind of put together and crazy thoughts and just put it together in just sort of one book. But that really was the point. Like the first 10 were kind of like everything I wanted to say. And then everything else was just another way of saying it applied to the next year, the next year, and the next year. As I'm sure you guys know, I mean, there's only so many tropes we're kind of working
That's
with,
right. No, that's right. Yeah, I've learned in this business working, there's like 10 or 20. And then after that, everything just cycles back down into 10. It's really...
And then you start to just get comfortable, right? Which is good. You start to kind of you can do it and you can talk. And I think that's where the show kind of goes away. And now it's authentic. I think about listening to you guys, people that listen to the show. People are able to kind of really just settle in now with you.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But that takes not being precious.
Yeah.
So there's two things that I think that are really important to talk about. For most people who don't know, Darren is my boss. I've started working with Darren in the beginning of January or February, was it? At the Doane Creative Agency, and so I've had the front
Darren's
row.
what got you up here.
Well, people don't know.
Let's go back to the roots.
2011.
I thought
was
Gabe was
it?
going to say, Darren's my boss. I was like, write him a check. I was like, wait, what? I was like, what just happened?
I don't write you no checks. No, so
Knox is crazy like that. He'll turn it on you.
Yeah, he will.
2011 was it? I think that I did my first project with you working on something monumental. Was like right around that time. And so I've known you for a long time, but I've had a front row seat to see how you wrote this book.
Yes.
So I think there's two parts that are super crazy. First of all, the book itself is amazing content. It's everything I've always wanted as somebody who saw your career. It's all the content I've wanted, all gathered in one place.
Yes.
Because one of the first things I ever heard from you was Christian Filmmakers, was a conference you did back in 2006.
Yes, that's right. At the American Vision. Are we allowed to say that, Gabe?
Yeah,
Can we say
totally.
American
No.
Vision? Okay.
I love Gary. If he just talk to me. He just needs to talk to me. That's it. That's it.
He won't talk to you.
Gabe, let's be honest. A lot of people won't talk to you. I don't know why you got to be.
I liked his post recently.
Like that's the criteria. Someone stop talking to Gabe.
After that, it's over. But so I think the content of the book is one thing. I want to get into more of that. But the other side of it is how you wrote the book.
Yes.
Which is like a whole nother, I don't even know what it is. Organism that continues to grow.
Yeah.
It's groundbreaking. It's mind bending. But there's something you were talking about just a moment ago with the idea that an artist doesn't seem to be someone who is like a tradesman. I want you to go in that a little bit more.
Yeah.
Where you were, because that's one of the most, by the way, everybody, the book is free. We haven't said
free.
that yet.
What?
The book is free.
Why are you giving away, as a person who's president of your company, why are we giving away a book?
Knox need to pay his kids.
We are.
Why are we giving away people
He's
free
got
books,
Logos
D?
tuition.
We are giving it away for free, honestly, because I do not believe, and you guys just don't shoot me on this right now, but
No.
I don't believe it's a concept that a friend of mine, Don Meek, shared with me a few years ago, which was this idea of brand permission. And I don't believe I have brand permission yet to sell whatever my audience is, or my fans, or my followers. I don't think I have brand permission yet to sell them anything.
Ooh, I want to argue with you on that one.
Okay, well, no, I might. I just haven't found the thing, right? So, when you think about when you ask someone to buy something, you're asking them to spend some of their money that they might buy something else with and buy your thing, right? So if I started a popcorn line, like I don't think I have brand permission to do like a microwavable popcorn line. You know what I mean?
I don't know. You could probably.
Well, no, but ironically,
you got 10
like
acres,
I see
20
what you're
acres.
saying.
No,
just
no,
corn.
I
Yeah.
see what you're saying.
Pop some rows.
let's take Kirk Cameron, for example. I think Kirk Cameron has brand permission to sell people microwavable popcorn.
Yeah.
Right? Because I think someone says, hey, I
see.
like Kirk. I'm going to spend my money. And they walk down an aisle and they go, you know what? I can spend it on this, or hey, Kirk's got a line of popcorn. I'm going to buy popcorn anyways.
Right.
I may as well give it to Kirk. I love Kirk.
Let's use Waterboy.
Well, but that's really funny because we all do this, and I say this respectfully. We usually try to find things that are kind of the easiest thing to white label.
Yeah.
We find some coffee. We find different things, right? And it's easy, right? And we're hoping someone kind of just
It just takes off,
Or let's just help them out.
Yeah.
Okay, hey, we want to support CrossPolitic.
It's a pity buy.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not so much a pity buy, but it's like when Doug says about giving money, you can pretty much, if you guilt somebody, you can kind of get $20 a month. From anybody.
Yeah,
right?
That's true.
And I'm not saying it's guilt. I'm saying that when people want to support, hey, I'll give you $20 a month.
I can do that. I can get rid of that. Yeah.
Absolutely. To support.
Yeah.
Brand permission for me is when you guys did the Fight Laugh Feast conference. You had brand permission to charge a couple $100 for people. Like that's a big, you guys proved you had brand permission.
Yeah.
I have not found where I have brand permission yet. Right. So I write a book, and it's actually the second book coming out. It's called Doane It. And that was sort of what I was really writing. I finished that, and I thought, you know what? Before I try to charge people for a book, what if I gave them a free book? And that's when I said, let's do Don't Be Precious.
Yeah.
I'll write this book, give it away for free. But I also love the idea of not gatekeeping from people. I don't need to sell the book to make a living per se.
Yeah, right.
Right? So what's important to me? Well, I think these ideas are important. I think they could really help people. I don't get in that sort of like ministry, philanthropy kind of, but I was like, I think I really would like people to have this. But I love the idea, and it was proven because the first place we dropped it, before we even announced it, was on the Fight Laugh Feast network, right? So we just put it up as a book.
Yeah. Didn't announce it and just dropped it on the RSS feed.
And it was like, boom, 1,000 downloads. Not just on the first chapter, but like all of them. Pretty much we're like 1,200 downloads now. To me, those are the things that get me excited. I'm like, wait a minute. I wrote a book. Have a website.
And people are listening to it.
And they're listening to it. They're downloading the PDF. They're just, it was like, what's the easiest way, zero friction, to try to get an audience something that you want them to have. I believe that the brand permission to sell at some point, it will come, right? But right now, I wanted to give it away for free because I love that people can get it. And the fact that we dropped it on Fight Laugh Feast and 1,000 downloads. I mean, I'm not an author. 1,000 people.
Now.
1,000 people got to consume it because of what you built. And by the way, and then through Dropwave, which is a whole other conversation, I was able to use that to then go everywhere.
Yeah, Spotify and all
iTunes, whatever, like, you know, like, so for me, it was, I just wanted to give this away for free. And then maybe if I begin to build this new relationship with my audience, maybe they'll buy the next book.
So go to Spotify, go to Apple Music, go get the book. Don't Be Precious. It's the book version.
Don'tBePrecious.com.
That's
and
the
then you
audio
can go
version.
also to don'tbeprecious.com. So that's the audio version. If you want to just get
And
the
You
PDF,
got Don'tBePrecious.com.
Yeah,
That's
Don'tBePrecious.com.
money.
Just
That's
sitting
money.
there, like $16 or
Yeah.
23 bucks. I don't know what.
Yeah.
And it's the whole book is there as well. So don'tbeprecious.com, or you can go to your favorite podcast and get it from there as well on the Fight Laugh Feast. So let's talk now about artistry and how this is one of, there's a couple profound, I was so mad that you were giving this away for free because I thought it was such a high value product.
Okay.
I really did. And I guess maybe because I
think
feel
I
like
covered that.
you have permission to share to me,
Right.
to sell to me. So therefore I feel like I should have bought it. But you know, when you start talking about artists and tradesmen, could you break down that chapter just a little bit, what you were thinking about and how we kind of give artists this pass? But right now, the whole game has changed where you can't wait for an artist to do their thing anymore.
Yeah, look, every business on the planet needs content. That's just a fact now.
Yeah.
Everyone knows that now.
You actually talk about that every business is a production house first.
Yes. Problem is that those historically who can do that work are artists. They're filmmakers, they're videographers, they're photographers, they're people that are very precious and need a lot of time to get things done, or overthink things, are very critical of themselves. And as you guys know, that's you cannot get something done in this day and age unless it actually gets done by people who have this mindset that it has to get done. And so the utilitarian aspect now of creating content is where we are at. So it's at that level of being a plumber, right? Which is, hey, I got a leak. I call someone, he shows up. If he sits there and says, you know what? I've looked at it. Give me a week. I'm going to really think about the best way to solve this problem. I mean, that's absurd.
Yeah.
Right.
We go somewhere else.
We expect them to show up, look at it, diagnose it, fix it. If not within an hour, within a day. Right. That's because he's a tradesman, and a tradesman trades in this idea that things need to get done now. I have a skill. I have a way to apply that skill. I'm going to solve this problem for you. We have not looked at content as sort of a skill that is solving a problem. It's been this enjoyable pastime. It's been this self-expression, right? But now it needs to be a skill. Now it needs tradesmen. And we basically have no one able to do that, which is going to cause this tension, which is one of the reasons why I wanted to put the book out, was take this sort of collection of things I've been talking about and saying, and see if I couldn't help in some way, at least prime the pump a little bit. You know, so whether it's you guys saying, hey, I'll give it to the staff, or well, the crew here, like
Absolutely.
what, like, you know, like maybe it'll prime the pump, right? And so now I'm kind of thinking about, unfortunately, you guys know this burden. You guys started this 7 years ago now, is it?
Yeah.
I'm thinking in terms of, I'm not going to have anyone to hire. I'm not going to be able to grow my business unless I start priming the pump right now with the mindset that's going to be needed to be productive Christians who create things. So I was like, well, maybe I'm 5 years or 7 years out. Maybe I can get this into the hands of a 14-year-old. Yeah. Right? And then in 4
reads
years.
it, catches your vision, and then you
I'm hiring him at 18.
Yeah.
I don't think people come to the realization that things are that desperate right now, right? Like that still seems to be something that takes a little time to convince people like there's nobody else coming.
Yeah, I saw this dip last couple months. I think everyone kind of just ignored what they know has been a problem as far as trying to find content creators. And I think they just kind of just ignored it for the last couple months. And now I'm seeing this sort of ramp up again of everyone kind of realizing like, wow, we don't have a plan for 2025 in regards to content.
Right.
Like,
Right.
oh, we really are behind. We really are in trouble. And so like the calls we're getting now, I'm like, oh wow, something's really happening, which means in these conversations, in the boardrooms, and the whatever meetings are taking place, someone is saying, hey, come 2025, we better have a strategy for TikTok. Like people are saying that now.
Right. They were just laughing at TikTok not too long ago.
Yeah, my daughter Zan, who's here, you just bought you just bought a purse. Was it off of TikTok?
Oh yeah.
Now I know people have been buying stuff online for us.
Sure.
But when you start, I'm always watching to see. She had a purse. You spent how much on it?
$7.
$7.
It's
a-
really fancy.
And I was like, I go, where'd you? TikTok. And
It's
I was
a
like,
fancy purse too, huh?
right. And I was like, well, how'd you?
$7.
So like where? And she said she's got this feed that just sends her products now on TikTok.
Yes.
Based on things she's
Is it
been
the
looking
For You
at.
page? The For You page?
Well, there was like a whole shop section, but it's like based on everything that you've watched.
Oh yes. I
mean-
I love how the algorithm works that way.
What? I mean, like
I go on there now looking for stuff. I'm like,
you see, so like
Tech.
this is so far beyond like, hey, let's get people to understand that they need content for their business. Look, a whole segment of the world has moved so far beyond that to where they're not even thinking in terms of like, you need to post once a day content. People have already moved beyond saying like, we're going to sell you stuff based on your feed. And we're going to make sure that we're the ones selling you a purse for $7 and like $3 shipping. So the speed at which things are going right now, and this dovetails into, I think, your question about AI and where we are going.
yes.
We are entering the winners and losers. Like
It's
that's
sunsetting. The old world is sunsetting.
it's gone. I mean, it's gone. And it's not like when the temple was destroyed, there still weren't people trying to figure out where can I go and sacrifice a bull.
I got a couple doves.
right,
Yeah.
right, of course. But
Right.
world had moved on. Demons can't talk to you anymore. The voices don't show up in the jungle anymore. Like just slowly, that is sort of
gods
happening.
don't answer us
Right,
anymore.
right.
Yeah.
So I think to kind of push that metaphor, man, we're not. The Google Analytics aren't working. Man, I don't understand. We bought these keywords. How come we're not?
Email lists don't work no more.
Right. Like, what are we? And so I was very passionate for the last 5 years or so, and then I was like, oh, we're done. There's only going to be winners and losers. Like we're at that moment now, and so it's been more sobering talks with businesses and with people. But I'm watching the majority of humans are getting truly left behind. Like, it's
With
just
no rapture, huh? No.
yeah, I mean, just and it's sad to watch because, like I've been saying for years, I get it. No one signed up to start a bagel store to then wake up and think I have to be a film production company. I have to make documentaries on my bagels. Like, that's not what they signed up for.
Right.
And I totally get it, but there is a point where you're like, man, like it's just. This is where we are now.
You talk about this in your book, though, actually. And this is what's
Yeah.
when you say you get it, it's funny because it's actually what you said in your book. You woke up one day and you realized nobody needed what you did anymore.
Yeah, and it was totally humbling. Like I woke up and I realized that a few things had happened. I had fallen asleep on my own. Not like I was lazy,
Right.
but I had fallen asleep on that. I just thought word of mouth was going to just continue to get me work. Right?
Over at this time, probably over 500, 600 music videos
Yeah.
you've done for some of the biggest bands in the
Yeah,
country.
and I was always just more of an opportunist. Hey, I can do some commercials. Hey, opportunity, some money, do a documentary. And I was just always going. And then when it just sort of grinded to a halt, and I had to realize, like, oh wait, it's still word of mouth, but word of mouth is somewhere else now. Mm-hmm. Like that was sort of like what was going to like completely change everything. It was like, oh, it still is word of mouth, and the world still is. It operates that way, but in the new covenant, in the new era, in the age to come, like it was just going to be in a different way.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it was just going to be something totally different, and that was something that I had to really think in terms of like, oh, it really was. Obviously, I'm a theology geek, and I really did. The only thing I could compare it to was we are entering the age to come. We're entering the new covenant, and it doesn't work the way it used to.
Well, in some sense, like the word of mouth thing, it still remains true today. It's just now on the internet,
Right.
right.
Yeah.
It's like,
and by the way, it's
like
a great
the old-
point. This is just the internet.
Yeah,
We're
yeah.
just talking about the internet.
Yeah, and so like the old way, word of mouth, that was the only way, is either that or the phone book, and that's why all the names, best companies started with the A or AAA or
Right.
or whatever, you know.
They got first dibs in the phone book.
And then once the new technology, the internet, social media kicked in, it's just word of mouth, and you just weren't there where the, you know, it's like and we've used this analogy before. The internet's like a mall. I mean, Twitter's like a mall, and you need to be in that mall.
Right. Well, and I think the phone book, it's funny because there's still a cutoff on how even the phone book analogy, like who that even works for, like what age, right? But we understand that, like that was how you got, and that was every single thing.
When I needed shoes, I need to find the shoe store, and you know,
my first
area.
music video, we had shot some film, had gotten that film transferred and developed, transferred over to a VHS tape.
Wow.
And we were like, where do we edit? I went to the yellow pages.
Yeah.
Edit,
Film
audio,
editor,
video
whatever,
editor.
video, yeah.
Found one. Turned out I could walk to it from my house. Right. I walked down there, walked in there, met a guy named Rick Pratt, who was the editor there. Just happened to be an old school musician, punk dude who was now editing. So he was like, "This is cool. Like I do all like JD Power and Associates." You know, commercial corporate videos. Are you kidding me? Yeah. So, but I found him by going to that
Yellow pages.
Now that world is on steroids, and now it's my daughter has things being brought to her.
Yeah. Right.
Things that based on what you're interested
Interesting. Yeah.
in. And so when I saw that, I couldn't really wrap my head around it. I just knew that I was going to have to. I just thought, I think this is the next $1 trillion. Like that's where it all is, because I want to have a business. I want to be successful. And I thought I'm going to have to take a hit. I did not want to take a hit at that point in my life. But I was like,
because you're like what, 42, 43 or something.
45,
You're
47
yeah.
or so. Yeah, because I'm 52 now. So I
Yeah.
was like 47. I was
it's
like,
like-
no, this is not the time
Yeah, I'm supposed to be in my prime.
a young man's
Yeah.
game learning Instagram and
Yeah, right.
TikTok. I was like, this is not, and
It still sounds weird, like, right?
and I could look back and go, I mean, I'm probably embarrassed about 70% of my communication because I was trying something new. Like, I don't think you want to watch the first year of your show.
No. No. Oh,
Right?
no.
Oh, my
I hope
goodness.
it's burnt
Right?
down somewhere.
We have not. I've not
No,
listened.
right.
Someday I will with my kids, maybe. You know,
The
like an
first
old
3
album. An
years,
old
I
album
might.
that dad.
Gotta have an extra like million in the bank to then not be afraid to be ashamed because it was worth it, right? You know what I mean? But I mean, so for me, it's the same as you guys. It was like I didn't think in my late 40s I was gonna have to find another gear. I didn't know I had another gear. I didn't think I needed another gear. But I was like, man, I better find it, right? And
Did COVID come and help with that process too?
yeah, I mean, COVID was strange because I started crushing it pretty quickly, and about a year in, and we were lining up, and money was looking good. I was like, man, I cannot believe God has blessed this. Like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And we went up spring break, March 2020. My wife's parents have this beautiful house up in Lake Shasta, but when you're up there, there's no reception, right? So I have to come down the hill,
Yeah.
check my phone, do calls, and all of a sudden
It's like COVID starting to come. What's this wave? What's this 2 weeks?
And then the clients start calling, we're out.
wow.
I go back up, lost a client. Next day, going down. Hey, we're out. God. By like day 3 or 4, I remember my wife was like, just don't
Don't go down. Don't go down.
don't even go down the
Every
hill.
time you go
Don't
down.
go down the hill.
Don't go down, Moses.
And by the time we drove back, we'd lost all our clients. But for the first time in my life, I was like, it wasn't my fault. I was like, for the first time, I was like, it wasn't some stupid idea. I was like, the whole world's broke with me now. The whole world just got fired. You know? So it actually there was some solace there. So, but yes, but as we all know, the punchline there would be within a couple months, everyone knew the only way to exist was going to be on social. And
That's
so
right.
that reinvigorated the entire company. Everyone was like, oh, this is what Doane's been talking about. It wasn't. I didn't think this was coming,
Yeah.
but it turned out social was the answer.
So then, you get toward the end of the book, and this is a chapter. If I could take out one chapter, D, it's the chapter where you expose yourself.
Which one did I expose myself?
When you talked about
not in a naked way.
No, not like
Doesn't sound right, but
Hey
Right.
guys, hey, we're Christians
it's,
here.
it's a
you know?
family show.
No,
doing that
when
David
you,
thing.
you told everybody how you wrote the book.
Oh yeah, yeah.
You told everybody how you wrote the book.
I've been playing with AI for about the last year, like just consistently. Again, as AI become this real thing that could live on your phone. When ChatGPT was on my phone, and on my laptop and all that, I was like, it seemed like there was this moment where I was like, this can't just be everyone's scared that your kids are going to cheat on like a 9th grade paper. I was like, this might be the most powerful piece of technology the world has ever seen.
Yes.
And the argument we're having is like, well, what if it writes a paper for your kid, right? And in my mind, I was immediately thinking, why aren't we asking the question, well, what if teachers are going to use it to grade?
Because we're fine with that.
Well, like, what does Doug Wilson say? That the world only goes one direction. You blow a hole in my boat, you just blew a hole in your boat. I'll never forget him talking about that because when Kirk Cameron was on Piers Morgan said, how would you feel if your son came home and told you that he was gay? And Kirk gave this gracious answer, but later was talking to Doug about it. And Doug said, your response should have been, I don't know, I'd probably feel the same way you'd feel if your son came home and told you you were a conservative Christian who was anti-abortion. We'd both be a little disappointed, wouldn't we? You blow a hole in my boat.
Bars.
You blew a hole in your boat. And so as AI was showing up and people were talking about it, I just thought, man, I don't know. This seems like, darn it, another thing. Like I thought I was settling in, but I was like, oh, it's going to change again and it's going to change quicker. I'm going to spend time. So I'd spend at least 2 hours a day on some sort of AI platform for the last year. And like anything, it's a tool and you start to learn it and you start to kind of get comfortable with it. And then all of a sudden there's an intersection. And for me, I started
An intersection for how you yourself can use it for your benefit.
Yeah, it's not just, oh, I'm going to use AI to make
do whatever.
Yeah, and there's always this forced thing. Well, AI will help me write a shopping list.
Right.
Like I was just using it every day. I finally got to like 500 hours on, I kind of wanted to get to 500 hours on chat before I even had an opinion on it. Everyone was giving their opinions on it. And I was like, how do respected Christian men give their opinions on something that they haven't even spent time on? Like I was shocked. And so I wanted to learn this thing. I could tell there was nothing inherently evil about it. I was like, this is processing power.
Yeah.
Okay. And then there was a moment where when I had this idea to write a book, I'd kept using ChatGPT for things. But there was a moment when I just realized that I have a lot of ideas. I'm a pretty good communicator. I'm not a writer. Like when Nate Wilson writes something, people want to read his prose.
Yeah.
Right?
There's a craft happening there.
There's a craft.
Yeah.
I don't craft, I communicate, right? It'd be what you guys do on this show. None of you guys are writers. You don't have staff writers that write out the show for you.
Right.
You sit down and you communicate, and you actually think it's worthwhile enough to do it for an hour or 40 minutes and expect people to sit and listen to you.
And find something valuable from it.
Right, that's it. And so
yeah.
I thought, man, I've got these ideas. I can communicate. I'm really good at just rambling. And so I thought, all of a sudden I've been using all this and I'd never thought of it that way. And it's funny, I was thinking it'd be fun. Like, so for me, this is the way like I use it. And so this is kind of what changed everything for me is like, let's say I go into chat and a lot of people don't know you can use it this way.
I want to walk over and look over on your shoulder.
No, I'm telling you.
It's just, there's no watch. This is all I'm going to do.
Is that chat GTP just basic chat?
Yeah, ChatGPT 4.0. Like I'll do a real example here,
I was
okay?
hoping, you know what? It's exactly what I wanted.
Okay, cool. Well, here we go. So, Gabe, it's this easy. Watch this. But listen to the prompts, right? It takes an educated person in some way, shape, or form to do this. You can't just vanilla. So, watch this. Hey, chat. So, what I'd like to do is I'd like to include a bonus chapter in my book, Don't Be Precious. And what I want to do is talk about this time where I went on the show CrossPolitic, and I had this really fun conversation with my friend Gabe. And I have a lot of backstory and history with Gabe. I actually was one of the first people he ever talked to about doing the show CrossPolitic, but I actually thought that it was a really bad idea, so I kind of blew him off. But the kind of joke's on me because Gabe turned this thing into just a powerhouse sort of culture-shaping show and concept. And it'd be fun as we write this chapter to find kind of better words to kind of describe the show and the way it's influenced the world. I'm not really finding the best sort of words for that right now, but it really is some kind of movement. It's almost like it was a manifesto that somehow turned into a sort of movement that really inspired Christians to be able to kind of have a voice and talk. And so what I want to do is I want to just write a short little chapter that kind of introduces my relationship with Gabe and how I ended up coming on the show to talk about my book, Don't Be Precious. Just give me a kind of rough idea, but here's what I'd like to do. Let's write it more in the tone of like a Tom Wolfe or a Hunter S. Thompson kind of gonzo approach. Let's kind of make it fun. Let's kind of have a little bite on that. Just give me an example, please. Thank you.
So was it texting out or just it was just absorbing you audibly?
Yes.
And then it converted into text.
Yeah.
And then now it's gonna write
right. And so what I do
2,000 word chapter.
No, because it sort of knows the sort of, there's not enough there. It's when if you try to make that a 2,000 word thing,
that's a lot of salad you just said.
It's a lot of salad because the more salad you give it, the more it can condense. It's actually understanding all the rabbit trails and it's kind of like this, kind of like that. So,
but also too, D.
But here we go. Ready? So this is what I do now.
Put it right up to the mic, so yeah.
Here's a rough draft for your bonus chapter, drawing on the gonzo approach of Tom Wolfe and Hunter S. Thompson. Chapter 9, The Joke's on Me. My CrossPolitic ride with Gabe. You ever get that moment when someone pitches you a wild idea and you think, yeah, that's not gonna fly? That was me with Gabe. My friend Gabe, the one with that contagious energy and a twinkle in his eye like he knew something I didn't. He came to me once upon a time, talking about this idea. CrossPolitic. Now, I love Gabe, but the guy wanted to build a Christian political commentary show. And in my head, I'm thinking, that's a one-way ticket to obscurity, man. Who's gonna listen to this? Who's gonna care? So what did I do? I kind of brushed him off, gave him the polite nod. Like you do when someone tells you they're starting a podcast in their basement. Well, here we are. Fast forward a few years, and guess what? CrossPolitic is no obscure basement podcast. It's not just a show, it's a movement. Yeah, that's right. It's a full-blown, take-no-prisoners cultural movement that turned the Christian world on its head. The joke's on me. Gabe and his merry band of culture shapers have built something fierce.
And then, so obviously it needs smoothing out.
Well, not if you're reading it.
Right.
That's just it talking back to me.
Okay.
Right. So now
It would probably read better than it just sounded there.
Oh, yeah.
I
So
mean,
now
the
I'll
content was amazing. I'm just saying it seemed
Yeah.
a little choppy. And,
Sure, yeah.
Oh, you're just talking. Well, that's just the audio player.
that's just the audio playback from
inside of-
ChatGPT. That's
Oh,
not
it's not even
that's
like
not-
That's
audio
not going
book,
into
but-
11
yeah.
labs and picking
Right.
out who.
Right.
So for
Yeah.
me,
Yeah.
what hit me was this is how I'm going to make music. I'm going to make music, but I'm going to make books. I'm going to like, wait, this is what you do with music. You get in a studio, you get beats, someone
Yeah.
gets in,
Yeah.
drop a line, boom,
Yeah.
bars, come back. Hey,
Yeah.
let's go. Hey, let's overdub this. Let's put strings on that. Hey, pull this up, pull that up. Now all of a sudden I was like, wait a minute. This revolutionized everything for me in the sense that now I'm realizing the level at which we can be communicating. It just went somewhere, but you have to be able to have an idea. You have to be able to start talking and communicating. And it turns out, oh, I'm a director. I'm just directing the conversation and the thoughts in my head out loud. I'm dictating what I want a chapter to be, what I want it to be about, the interesting details of it. And it's the same thing if I was, so when you hear that, that's not ChatGPT scraping some story.
Right.
No, what's amazing is like you said a bunch of words.
Yes.
Now some of it connected, some of it didn't.
Sure. Right.
And it wasn't said in any sort of like,
Coherent
story
way. Yes,
narrative.
right,
coherent,
right.
And then it even grabbed things that you didn't even say.
Right.
And brought it into the conversation. And
Yes.
for the most part, it was pretty accurate because
Yeah.
I came to you years
Yeah.
ago and I said, I want to do this podcast. And
Right.
eh.
Right.
And then, so it
I mean, in fairness, you said SNL skits, but okay.
I said I wanted to do that too. I said I wanted. I
He
did.
still wants to do
I
those.
still want to do.
You still
SNL.
want to
Oh,
do
yeah,
it?
man.
I'm in
Oh,
now.
yeah, let's
I'm
go.
in. I'm never saying no to you again. I'm never saying no to you
So
again.
it turned around and took that and made it into kind of a story, cohesive story.
Right. And I gave it the tone that I wanted, right? So it's my voice, it's my ideas, but
Yeah.
give me a little Tom Wolfe, give me a little Hunter
Yeah.
S. Thompson, right? You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like that's, you have to be able to pull on the references and
Yeah.
the tone. And if you're not educated in the area that you want to be communicating in,
Yeah.
it will just be vanilla.
Exactly. That's why a lot of people are getting vanilla out of it because they're not actually.
Right.
And there's multiple ways to do this, but I mean, you could have taken documents and articles that you've written about CrossPolitic and put
Right.
it in there so that it has some information to work with. But there's also a library of content that you've been uploading about the book
Yes.
that's going to have your tone that's going to reference and pull
And
from.
I've been what I call data stacking forever on ChatGPT, meaning that I've been putting all my podcasts in, all my thoughts, right? Hundreds of episodes. Like I'm building the data stack that I call it on just my brand, my thoughts, and what I do. So the ability for me to sit down and say, hey, you know what? I'd like to write a short thing or create a book or do it. It has all of me. Anything I've ever written, anything I've ever communicated, right? It's there.
So Chat GTP or
GPT.
GPT should be GT.
Could
P,
be. It's like
5.0, 5.0.
It's like DJI.
I pull it
It's
down.
DJI.
DJI.
So, yeah. You basically have uploaded all your podcasts, everything in there. So when you now prompt it,
Yes.
it's not pulling like the interwebs
Right.
of the algorithm that's built into
Right. I
AI.
mean, in some way it is, but it's still referencing the core of me.
Okay.
It's giving it a framework in which to stay in the building for the most part, right?
Right.
So
It's like if
is that because I got the
You got
chat,
chat
I have
on
chat
AI.
on AI. Is that the same thing?
It pulls from chat, but it's not the same
not.
thing.
It's not the
you
same.
want to
You
make
want
sure
GPT.
Okay.
it looks like,
so
yeah.
Chat GTP. You yep,
that one.
yeah, I follow you. So you basically upload my screen.
And then, by the way, so I would do a chapter, I listen back to it, then I would correct it, I
Yeah.
would change things.
Reprompt,
No,
yeah.
I want to do this. So
Okay.
But I got to the point to where basically every chapter was taking me about 30 minutes because I got focused. I got in the lab. I got in the booth.
And it has thousands of hours of you already there.
Right.
And then now you're just kind of like, hey, let's channel this.
Right. Although it doesn't even need that. The actual fresh ideas, as long as I'm word salading enough, it's pulling from that. Right. So I just said, wait, what if I just stay committed on these thoughts, which, as you guys know, I watched you guys do exactly what I do. You guys did not prep for the show. You guys know what you're doing. You have your own copiousness and how to do this, right? You have this prepped ready for you. In a sense, you kind of have your own AI. You got people working here with you.
Right.
I don't think you wrote this. I don't think you got the teleprompter going. So, right, I started realizing all these tools are just the exact same thing. Right? Yeah. And so I was so used to walking on a set. And for me to make anything in my life, what do I need? I need a cinematographer, I need a sound guy, I need a camera assistant, I need a gaffer. I'm nothing without those things,
the
right?
IT, right.
Well, turns out if I want to write a book, or if I want to create a book, I need help. I need all the best talent and tools to help me write that. And so for me, the trick though was just like you guys do, boom, you sit here, you turn on the cameras and you go and you commit to that 1 hour. For me, I was like, I'm going to do that with writing a book. You know, but then again, I get to hand it to David. Mark Beecham's on our team. I mean, I got some talented, smart, creative people looking at stuff, laying out, editing, all that. So it still took a production team.
Sure.
Oh man.
But this is like publishing a book. I mean, you basically have all those figures one or another.
It's funny, like it was still work. It was still work to put together. I'm watching you prompt, and the way you're focused, you're thinking about this. You're going through your library of stuff that you've done, and you're giving it all the information about you and projects. And you have, it's like high school. You did a chapter that's like high school and the festivals. Oh, please, guys, go download it. Don'tBePrecious.com. Fantastic in every way. It's such a treat, but it's still work. It's not like, oh, I just put something in and just gave me back. No, you have to work this thing.
Right.
And the more that you're articulate, the more you understand what you're trying to do. I mean, I've even said, and people don't like when I say this, I really think this is one of those tools that will help humanity be more human.
Absolutely.
And everybody looks at me and says, what? You're talking about artificial intelligence? No, I'm telling you, I realized my ability to communicate was flawed to other humans by the way I was communicating to chat. And
by the way, I talk very coarse. My thoughts are very rough. They rub people, I think, the wrong way. You know, I'm not very good when I kind of know that about myself, you know? And so the ability to get out ideas, things I wanted to share with people without it being fully my abrasive voice, but somebody actually cleaning it up for me and making it much more palatable without losing that bite, which by the way is what editors do.
I was gonna say,
for every author and every writer out there. There used to be real editors that did all this stuff for people. What is the tone? Correcting that. And I've just never been good. I come across very abrasive. And so I wanted to figure out how could I communicate this stuff in such a way that it would be palatable for people. That's why I didn't have my voice. That's why I didn't read the audiobook. I wanted a different voice that I thought would be much more enjoyable for people than my, and actually it allowed me to be more objective to hearing it because it wasn't my voice. I was like, oh, that's pretty good. I like what that guy just said. You know what I mean? Because it wasn't like, oh, there's me again, like, oh, I'm sick of hearing me, So yeah, I would, and it's not like I'm not even trying to encourage people. I'm just sharing now, like, this was the process. They asked Christopher Hitchens if he thought every person had a novel inside themselves, and Hitchens said yes, and it should probably stay there. I'm not saying, everyone go write a book, but you know what? I love the idea of freedom. I love the idea of people being able to create without gatekeepers. I love the idea that there's a girl out there that maybe has an opportunity now to write a book without ever having to meet with some creepo, weirdo, scumbag, pervert who can maybe get her a publishing deal. So to me, I always reduce it to that. I love when I see technology remove the ability for people to be preyed on.
Yeah.
be preyed upon. That's the thing I love the most about technology is you don't have to go sell your idea to somebody and then lower your standards or go to dinner with some dirtbag.
You know, one of the other things too I want to say,
Men and women.
Yeah, I agree, absolutely, and this is a game changer in that aspect for real. One of the things too is like a lot of people are concerned about their own jobs being taken because of the new technology and AI, and I've realized though, like you said earlier, the more a person who's an editor who then takes what you give them and is able to use this tool, they're a better editor than anybody else, right?
Absolutely.
Because it's the tool that's going to help them do their job 1,000 times more and better and more articulate. I mean, there's so many different ways that they can do it and understand about the language that other people don't. And so when they have this kind of tool, they become better editors.
I just think if at 47 years old, I could have the humility to know that maybe I was obsolete and I had to learn some new tricks at 47 years old. Come on, if you're 20, 30 years old right now, 40 years old and you're not thinking, wait, how do I use this to level up? How do I use this to come on, like there's really no excuse. I mean, ChatGPT 4 is there's a free version. Right?
There's a lot of free versions out there,
I think sadly though, it is exposing, like I was telling you, Gabe, before we started, to do this book the way we did it. It's probably the most intensive work I have ever done in my entire life for the last 2 weeks. It takes work. So it turns out if you want to create 100 times more of something output, you got to work 10 times harder right now to get there. But a lot of people don't want to work 10 times harder.
Right.
That's true.
So I'm still trying to figure out what I think this equation is for what's coming. But for me and my household,
I'll serve the Lord.
So everybody needs to go to don'tbeprecious.com, get your book on the theology of work. Don't Be Precious. You have the audio version there.
And the Fight Laugh Feast app, too.
You can download the PDF. It's inside the Fight Laugh Feast app.
Go get it.
It's available.
We can push it now, right?
Yeah, we can push it.
Can we do a push? Can we do a push?
Go tell your friends about it. It's a wonderful value for you. And thank you very much for coming on the show.
I love being here. I think my goal is to beat Doug Wilson at some point. I don't know who's got the most appearances.
He's got more books than you know.
If you're single, you get married, if you're married, have you some kids, you have kids, go baptize them. Until tomorrow, love God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. Love your neighbor as yourself. Go fight, laugh, and feast. This is CrossPolitic. You're probably going to beat him in how many books you're writing right now.
Well,
where
still
you're
got
going.
like 60 in the
You can
hopper.
catch up in like
He's
2
done.
weeks, though. You got a shot.